back in the big house this weekend. Only one other home game after this outside of the Ohio State game at the end of the year, which I almost kind of put in a different bucket. I mean, it's kind of its own season, totally different feel. So it's just this game and then the Purdue game at the beginning of November. And then Michigan's on the road. Other than that, obviously some big road games coming up. Penn State, Maryland in November, but Michigan State in a couple weeks before the bye. Let's talk about the Wolverines a little bit and just how dominant they have been and just a couple different streaks that I was kind of pulling up for an article this week where, they've won every game by 24 or more points. Obviously, we know that, but I was looking, okay, when was the last time this has happened? Maybe it's never happened. Maybe it hasn't happened since the early 1900s. It did happen in 1992 when our analyst Doug Skeen was on those Michigan Lions winning 5 Big Ten championships. They beat Oklahoma State, Houston, Iowa, Michigan State, Indiana, Minnesota in that stretch. They go 9-0-3 on the season, win over Washington, now Big Ten foe in the Rose Bowl. And if they win this weekend, it'll be the first time with 7 straight wins by 24 or more points since 1976 when they beat Stanford, Navy, Wake Forest, Michigan State, Northwestern, Indiana, and Minnesota. Michigan's not just winning. They're not just winning pretty big. I mean, they're winning in blowout fashion every week. We talked about it on Monday where J.J. McCarthy has attempted 4 passes in fourth quarters. But when you look at it historically, AB, what comes to mind when you see just how dominant this Michigan team has been?
Well, again, that's adjusted for the caliber of schedule too. And so being that you're in the same breath with those teams, to me is, I won't say it's irrelevant, but I look at it more as, when you look at what the storyline with this football team is that they haven't played anyone. Okay, I get it. No one on there is going to shake, have you shaking in your boots. You're not afraid of the teams you've seen so far.
UNLV,
hey,
though.
The go-go offense is working. They're 4-1 this year? So shout out to the running Rebs. But yeah, I mean, so much of it, and this is the conversation we had on Monday, where so much of it is what it's looked like so far. And, haven't really seen this team break a sweat other than the Bowling Green game, where the only reason you were breaking a sweat at all is because of self-inflicted wounds. So for me, it's just, I think it speaks mostly to the way that this team is handling its business. I mean, this is a veteran group. A lot of the guys on this team making plays or that are in prominent roles were on the team in 2021, 2022. And, they really are one game at a time personified. There might be little blips on the radar that come up here and there, but that's football. I mean, you chase perfection, but the fact of the matter is that within the prism of a 60-minute game, you're never going to be perfect. And when you are, it's going to look like, what it looked like at Minnesota or what it looked like at Nebraska. So for me, it's a continuance of just taking care of your business. There's nobody on the schedule the next 3 weeks that I think has the bodies or the caliber of talent it's going to take to put a scare into you. And again, you just have to keep attacking it and handling your business. And the narrative is going to continue to be what it looks like. If you struggle against Indiana, again, I know and that could happen this weekend. The weather's going to be a little crappy outside. Michigan State's a rivalry game. There could be some weird stuff that happens there, both on and off the field, as it turns out. And then Purdue has actually played some decent football at times. So it can happen. You always have those games where you play a little bit uncharacteristically, but I think they've already played one of them. When you look at that Bowling Green game, to me, it's just been business as usual throughout the season.
Yeah, so Michigan now at 18 straight wins in Big Ten play, 5th longest streak in conference history. If they win a 19th in a row, which you assume they will on Saturday, as 33.5-point favorites, I believe, that would match the Michigan program record, which they set back in that kind of window there, 1990 to 1992. But yeah, very impressive what Michigan has done so far this season. And then the second one I wanted to talk about real quick is 76-0 in third quarters, just how dominant Michigan's been coming out of the halftime locker room. I think probably more gets made of halftime adjustments than really should be. I mean, it's a great talking point. They do make halftime adjustments and they do work. So you have to give them credit for it. I think a lot of it though is just, that this team as a team, kind of knows that, what it needs to do as it continues on throughout a game. I remember some guys last year kind of laughing about all the questions about halftime adjustments because they're like, man, we just keep playing our game. We just know that it'll click at some point. And then you have to credit the strength and conditioning as well. But, I mean, to not give up any points in the third quarter this year, and then you can't really take any stock in the fourth quarter margins because of the backups coming in every single game. But your thoughts on the way Michigan has really handled itself coming out of the halftime locker room?
Well, the secret of football is that you're always making adjustments. You're making adjustments in game. You go to the locker room, you collect yourselves, and maybe that's your longer form opportunity to draw up some new things and get guys settled down. But the fact of the matter is that when we talk about the caliber of teams that Michigan's playing, is that I mean, early on, the way that Michigan plays, it's very much kind of a I don't want to say lull you to sleep, but we talk about the boa constrictor, right? Where it takes time. It's a bit of a slow burn. I think these third quarters are just water finding its level. It's, we've played 2 quarters of football. We still feel fresh. We have been the aggressor. We are going to continue to wear teams down and kind of dictate what these games are going to look like. And that's how you get 77-0, because you have better conditioned guys, you have better players, and you're doing what you should do to teams that just don't have the dogs to hang with you. So being what it is, I think that's the biggest thing for me, is that the reason these and Jesse Minter deserves a ton of credit. The whole coaching staff deserves credit for keeping that focus, for hammering home that always play like games are 0-0 and every play matters. And when you do that one snap at a time, one series at a time, and you're as talented and as deep as Michigan is, that's what third quarter should look like against these teams that, quite frankly, just they just can't hang. That's the simplicity of what it is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so let's get more into this game, more on Michigan as they head into the second half of the season. I did want to mention the weather, as you mentioned a couple times, but it's going to be rainy. It looks like winds up to 15 miles an hour. And we also have a very unique partial solar eclipse. According to NASA, the sun will be obscured by about 35% over the course of the eclipse in Ann Arbor. It will start just before noon, minutes before Michigan kicks off at the Big House. It will wrap up around 2:20 p.m. So it's going to be cloudy anyway, so I don't know how much of an effect it will have, but it'll be interesting. We could get a light show for a noon game at the Big House. What do you think?
Could be interesting. My suggestion would be don't stare directly into the sun. That's not smart for anyone to do, but yeah, if the sun's out, that should be something that's cool. I remember a couple summers ago when we had that one, it was cool to step out on the back porch and check it out, but don't look directly at the sun. That's the PSA for the day.
Yeah, you got to get those special glasses, right? I think.
That's right.